Hello, good morning guys. Today we are going to learn about the trigeminal nerve. In trigeminal nerve, the second nerve, that is the maxillary nerve. The maxillary nerve is the division of second division of trigeminal nerve. Now, in my maxillary nerve, we will study the origin and the course. That is, how does the maxillary nerve starts its journey and how does it end. Now, starting with the introduction, first we will see where is the trigeminal nerve and trigeminal ganglion. Now, from the image, you can see that this is the trigeminal ganglion and this is the trigeminal nerve. Now, this is the trigeminal ganglion. This gives three branches. First branch is the ophthalmic division, second is the maxillary division, and third is the mandibular division, or the ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve, and mandibular nerve. Now, in this, to remember, ophthalmic division and the maxillary division, these two are pure sensory, whereas the mandibular division, this is a sensory also as well as a motor also. You can see the motor root is joining with the mandibular division. Now let's see the introduction. Now, in the introduction, as I stated that the maxillary nerve is a pure sensory nerve. Then it forms the anterior aspect of the trigeminal ganglion, which we saw in the diagram. It passes through the cavernous sinus, and then it leaves the cranial cavity through the foramen rotundum, and then it enters the pterygopalatine fossa. This we will study later. Now let's first see where is the foramen rotundum. Now in this diagram you can see that the trigeminal nerve gives the branches ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. Now, ophthalmic branch goes through the superior orbital fissure. The maxillary branch, it goes through the foramen rotundum, and the mandibular branch, it goes through the foramen oval. We are studying about the maxillary division. Over here, now going ahead, in this diagram you can see that this is the trigeminal nerve. This is the trigeminal ganglion. Trigeminal ganglion gives three divisions. First, this is the first division, which is the ophthalmic nerve. This is the second, which is the maxillary nerve, and this is the third division, that is the mandibular nerve. Now, I stated previously that division 1 and division 2, that is ophthalmic division and maxillary division, these both divisions are purely sensory. And the mandibular division, this is sensory plus motor. Now, in this diagram, you can see that this is the cavernous sinus. From the maxillary nerve runs through the cavernous sinus, then through foramen rotundum, it runs to the pterygopalatine fossa, and further this is the infraorbital canal foramen, and this is the infraorbital canal, groove and canal, and it comes out for the face from the foramen, infraorbital foramen. Now let's see this nerve in detail. Here is a more proper view. That is, this is the trigeminal nerve. It runs through the lateral aspect of the cavernous sinus. After that, it enters or it leaves the cranial cavity through foramen rotundum. After that, there is pterygopalatine fossa, then inferior orbital fissure. It runs through the groove and canal of the infraorbital, and it comes out in the face by infraorbital foramen. Okay, so to summarize, this is the cavernous sinus, then pterygopalatine fossa, then infraorbital fissure, and then infraorbital foramen. Why infraorbital? Because this is below the orbit. So infra means below, and this is the orbit. So below the orbit, so infraorbital groove and canal, and then foramen. Now let's go ahead. Now this is the maxillary nerve. Over here we can see that this is the trigeminal nerve, which gives three branches: ophthalmic division, maxillary division, and mandibular division, out of which ophthalmic and maxillary, these both are sensory, and mandibular division is motor plus sensory. Now we are studying maxillary nerve, right? So we will go ahead. Now maxillary nerve, we will divide maxillary nerve in four parts. This is the first part, that is in the cranium. Then leaving the cranium by foramen rotundum, this is the second branch, that is pterygopalatine branch or pterygopalatine part. Then infraorbital fissure part or infraorbital part, and last part is the face part. So here are the divisions: in the cranium, in the pterygopalatine fossa, in the infraorbital foramen dash fissure, and the face. Now we will study the branches of the maxillary nerve. Now by starting, you can memorize this diagram. This will be very simple for you. Now to start, the maxillary nerve gives the first branch in the cranium, that is the meningeal branch. Now this meningeal branch, where does it supply? It supplies the dura mater. Okay, the name itself tells you what it supplies. Now the second, going ahead, this is the second part or the pterygopalatine fossa region. Now over here, the maxillary nerve gives few branches which gives the pterygopalatine ganglion. It supplies the pterygopalatine ganglion. Then it breaks again into posterior superior alveolar and zygomatic nerve. Now we will check the diagram. That is the cranial branch. This is the meningeal branch which supplies the dura mater. Then this is pterygopalatine fossa. In the pterygopalatine fossa, it gives three branches. First branch branches to pterygopalatine ganglion. Then second is zygomatic nerve, and third is posterior superior alveolar nerve. Now here is the distribution. That is the meningeal branch supplies the dura mater. Then the pterygopalatine or branches to pterygopalatine ganglion, this nasal cavity, nasopharynx, palate, and orbit. Posterior superior alveolar, this supplies of upper molar teeth, that is 6, 7, 8, and the maxillary sinus. In this, a point to remember that the first molar, the mesiobuccal root of the first molar, is not supplied by the posterior superior alveolar. It is supplied by the middle superior alveolar. This is the exception which has to be remembered. Now coming to the diagram, as I stated that this is the maxillary nerve. It gives the first branch, that is the meningeal branch. This supplies the dura mater. Then it leaves the cranium by foramen rotundum. It enters the pterygopalatine fossa. Now in the pterygopalatine fossa, it gives three branches, or actually four branches. First branch is the ganglionic branches, or the branches to the pterygopalatine ganglion. Then the second branch is the posterior superior alveolar nerve. Third branch is the zygomatic nerve or the zygomatic branch. Now this zygomatic branch divides into zygomatico-temporal and zygomatico-facial. Now from the word you can understand where does it distribute. Zygomatico-temporal, that means it supplies the temporal region, and zygomatico-facial, this supplies the facial or the zygomatic bone. Continuing, this nerve then continues from the infraorbital fissure, and then it enters the infraorbital canal. Now this nerve is called as infraorbital nerve. Okay, now continuing, this gives two branches again. This gives a branch which is called as middle superior alveolar nerve, and another branch, that is anterior superior alveolar nerve. Now to remember, you can remember that this is the anterior, middle, and the posterior. This is very simple. We have to understand the name and then go according to the anatomy. This is the anterior region, so then it will so this nerve will be called as anterior superior alveolar. Then this is the middle part, so this is called as the middle superior alveolar, and this is the posterior part, so this is called as posterior superior alveolar. Going ahead, it enters the face by the infraorbital foramen, and it gives three branches, that is palpebral branch, nasal branch, and the labial branch. Now this is the basic maxillary nerve. Now let's see the distribution, or where does it distribute. Now this is the PPT which I have made to make it more simple. As the cranial branch is the meningeal branch, then pterygopalatine fossa, and there are three. First is the branch to pterygopalatine ganglion, then second is the zygomatic nerve, and third is the posterior superior alveolar. Now zygomatic nerve again breaks into zygomatico-temporal and zygomatico-facial. Now going ahead, this nerve continues as infraorbital nerve. Infraorbital nerve, it breaks again into two parts, middle superior alveolar and anterior superior alveolar. Then the nerve again continues on the face, and it forms the palpebral branch, nasal branch, and the labial branch. Now this is the branches of the maxillary nerve. Now let's see the distribution, that is where does this nerve supply. Now basic formula, the basic funda over here is the name only gives where it supplies, or other way around, it supplies the adjacent structures only. So the meningeal branch will supply the dura mater, then the zygomatic nerve or zygomatico-temporal nerve which will supply the temporal region, zygomatico-facial will supply the zygomatic bone. Now going ahead with the pterygopalatine ganglion, the pterygopalatine branches to the pterygopalatine ganglion, this supplies the, going from the order, that is orbit, nasopharynx, nasal cavity, and the palate. Now going ahead, the posterior superior alveolar, as I stated that posterior superior alveolar supplies the upper molars and the maxillary sinus, that is the upper molars, that is 6, 7, 8, and here there is an exception. The first molar, the mesiobuccal root of the first molar is supplied by middle superior alveolar nerve. As I stated that the infraorbital nerve continues and it breaks into two parts, middle superior alveolar and the anterior superior alveolar. Now the middle superior alveolar, it supplies the upper premolars, that is 4 and 5, gums and the maxillary sinus. All the alveolar nerve supplies the gums and the maxillary sinus. Okay. Now the teeth to be remembered are the middle superior alveolar, it supplies the upper premolars, that is 5 and 4 and 5. Additionally, it also supplies the mesiobuccal root of the first molar. This is the very important point to be remembered, and over here this comes as a MCQ question. Now the anterior superior alveolar, this supplies the upper canines and the incisors, that is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 are supplied by the anterior superior alveolar. 4 and 5, these two are supplied by the middle superior alveolar. Additionally, important point to remember that the mesiobuccal root of the first molar is also supplied by the middle superior alveolar. So continuing on the face it gives three branches, that is palpebral branch, nasal branch, and the labial branch. Now the palpebral branch, by the name you can understand, it supplies the lower eyelid. Nasal branch, it supplies the ala of the nose, and the labial branch, it supplies the upper lip. From the words only you can remember, palpebral means lower eyelid, nasal means nose, so ala of the nose, and labial means the lip. Now in this case, upper lip. Now this is the end of the maxillary nerve. Now let's have a quick recap. Chalo, let's revise quickly. This is I have opened. Now I will draw the diagram and you will state which nerve is it. Okay, now I will give you a hint. This is the trigeminal ganglion. Now let's start. This is, I will just state the numbers. 1, 2 is this nerve, and 3 is this nerve. Going ahead, 4, then this is the 5, this is 6, 7, 8. 8 breaks into 2. Then this is which? This is what? Now 10. This is the 10th nerve. 11, and then it leaves the face by which foramen? These are the three nerves are on the face, 1, 2 and 3. Now I think you have stated all the nerves. To revise it fast, I will state quickly all the nerves. This is a trigeminal ganglion. Now you can check your answers. This is the one which is ophthalmic division, maxillary division and mandibular division. Now we are studying the maxillary nerve, so let's go in detail. Now in maxillary nerve, this is the first branch or the meningeal branch. Now this maxillary nerve leaves the foramen by foramen rotundum. It gives the first set of branches, that is, these are the pterygopalatine ganglionic branches, or the branches to the ganglion, pterygopalatine ganglion. This is the pterygopalatine fossa. Going ahead, it gives another branch. This is the zygomatic branch, which breaks into two, zygomaticotemporal and zygomaticofacial. Now this is the third branch. This is the posterior superior alveolar branch. It enters the infraorbital canal or fissure or foramen, you can say. Now it gives over here first branch. This is the middle superior alveolar branch. This is the anterior superior alveolar branch. Now going ahead, it enters the face, or it comes out on the face by this is the infraorbital foramen. This is the first branch, which is the palpebral branch, nasal branch and labial branch. This is the summary of the maxillary nerve. All the best.